we ought to be thankful every day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For every day is a day of thanksgiving. However, as the people of God, we ought to at least be able to bring our hearts and our minds to a proper. I thank God today, grateful unto him for his daily provisions, his common grace, his special grace, his favor. He's just so good. We was talking today in the back, me and the brothers, and we were just talking about how you can't earn anything from God. You can't earn anything from him. It's a dangerous thing to say to God, Lord, just give me what I deserve. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want what God says I deserve. He gives me the wages that I've earned. I'm not going to be too happy. But I thank God for his grace. His free gift of grace. That I can stand boldly before his throne without spot or wrinkle. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Turn with me to the book of Philippians chapter 1. I just got one or two things to say to you today. Let me get out your way. I know it was great. I just heard Tim laugh. I didn't know what he said. I know it was great. Amen. I want to say publicly thank you, those of you who traveled out to First Baptist Frankfurt this past Tuesday. I didn't get an opportunity to come back up and thank you publicly, so I want to thank you now for your presence, your prayers, and your support. Thank you, choir, musicians, ushers, those in deacons, and the body that was there. I thank you, and I thank those who wasn't able to make it, but your prayers and thoughts were with us. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I want you to know that. I want you to know that. It makes it a little bit easier to stand. And you know there's folks who support you in what God is working in your life. Amen. Philippians chapter 1. Let's look at verse 3. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, for you all making requests with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus the Christ. Amen. Amen. Tell your neighbor good morning. Good morning. I'm sitting next to folks that can't say hi. How was your work week? Good to see you. You sitting there thinking what they doing sitting here today. But beloved, I want to tell you today that I thank God as we enter into this Thanksgiving season and this holiday season. I thank God for you. I thank God for you. It's a sad thing for a believer not to be able to thank the Lord for the work he's doing in the life of somebody else. Especially other believers. Especially other believers. So I want you to tell somebody, either it's your neighbor to your left, your right, in front of you, behind you, if you got to walk to the other pew. And I just want you to tell them, neighbor, I thank God for you. There's one other thing. For he is not through with you yet. Tell him, tell him, tell him. Tell him. Tell him. That's why I thank the Lord for you. Because he's not done. Ain't that good news? I know he's not done with me yet, but I thank the Lord that he ain't through with you either. I'm telling you, child of God, we are family. We are family. We are the beloved of God. I want what's best for you. You mess it up, that's all right, baby. We're going to get it right the next time. Thank God for you. What good is it doing for the body if we stare down our nose at folk? What is that doing for the body of Christ? It is one body made up of many members. The toe hurt, the whole foot hurt. If the foot hurt, my leg is hurt. And if my leg is hurt, my back is hurt. If my back is hurting, my shoulders is hurting. And then my neck is hurting. And then I can't sleep at night, so my head is hurting too. What good is it? I thank the Lord for it. Tell somebody again, I thank the Lord for it. I do. That's all Paul was saying. I thank God for you. I'm already almost done. Okay. But I thank the Lord for you today. Paul. To give a little background as to why he writes this letter and why he starts it the way he does. Paul had birthed a church in the city of Philippi, and might have been by accident. But he had birthed a church in the city of Philippi. He has great love for this church, for these people. They've been kind to him. And at the point where he was writing this letter, he was actually in prison. He was in prison in Rome. And some argue and say that he was kind of like on house arrest. And if it wasn't house arrest, then it was minimal, very minimal security prison. But he couldn't leave the city. He could only go to certain on certain grounds, but he could have visitors and things like that. And the church at Philippi, when he was in prison, had sent him a love gift. Not a monetary gift, but gifts to help with his sustainment while he was in prison. And this was sent by a brother named Epaphroditus, who was believed to be an elder of the church of Philippi. And Paul was grateful, and Paul, when Epaphroditus went back and returned into the church of Philippi, he sent him with this letter. And Paul simply wanted them to know how much he loved them. How much he loved them and how much he thanked God for them. It's astonishing to me that Paul is his spirit is in a moment of thanksgiving. He's going through a period of gratefulness. And it's astonishing to me that he can set his mind and his heart to be grateful for others in the midst of his own tragedy, in the midst of his own suffering, in the midst of being locked up and secluded. Paul's mind and his heart is on the people of God, to where he wants to ensure he gets a message to them saying, and I want you all to understand it real close, I love you and I thank the Lord for you. He says, every time you are brought to my mind, I thank God for you. That's what he says right there in the text. I thank God upon every remembrance. Every time the Spirit puts you on my mind, I say, Lord, I'm grateful for that person. Every time I think about you, doesn't matter what your circumstance is, whether it's good, bad, ugly, sad. He says, I thank God for those people. Is that not a shepherd's heart?
Yeah, that's right.
He shows the true mind of a shepherd's heart, being brought to thank God for his people in their work, in their walk. Every time, no matter what brings you to my mind, a poor memory, I thank the Lord for you. He says, and in every thought and prayer for you, it is with joy. Y'all see that in verse 4? For every thought and prayer for you, it is with joy. Joy for the past. Joy was for the past and who they were today. And the prayer was for their future in what was to come. See, you do know that when you go to God in prayer for somebody or for yourself, and you go into him invoking and inquiring him of mercies and blessings, you ought to also be thanking him for the blessings that you're already in. Amen. It's an ungrateful somebody who keep wanting to go to the well and never tell the well thank you for never getting empty. I don't know. Every time I go and draw, the bucket's full. You better learn to tell the Lord thank you sometimes. You better learn to tell the Lord thank you. But he has joy for the past and who they are today. And when I looked at that, he rejoiced in their beginnings because it was encouraging, it was promising. This being evident of the work of grace in their life. In other words, Paul took joy in knowing who and what they used to be. And where they are today. The Lord said, I celebrate you. He said, Paul is saying, if you don't see how far you've come, He said, I see it. Oh, what a good shepherd. He says, if you don't see that the Lord has made some ways in your life, okay, you may not see that. You may not be able to see that you ain't where you ought to be. But Paul says, but I see that you ain't what you used to be. That's right. That's the best part. You can't miss the blessing right now in your situation. I don't care where you are, what you have, what you don't have. If you're a child of God, you are better than you were before. See, our problem is sometimes, though, is we're basing where we are based on what we have. We're basing our status, our prosperity, based on what we have. You need to quit looking around you to what you got. And you just need to look at on the inside at what you've become. You've gone somewhere. And when I'm saying that he was praying for their future and what was to come. I'm reminded when God told Jeremiah in chapter 29, when he told him, he said, I know the thoughts that I think towards you. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, bringing you to an expected end. Paul was letting them know, in my prayer for you, I am praying with expectation of where God is getting ready to send you. I am praying, and I'm praying with all joy and expectation that the God that has brought you this far is not through with you yet. He's not through with you yet, and I'm excited, because you have shown me that you have grown up a little bit. Because the thing is, I knew you before, and before you would have cut that girl. I knew you then. And see, I knew you before, and before, I would never see you at no Bible study. I knew you then, and before, every weekend we could be up and out all night long, and now you are a homebody. You know, I've known you before. I knew you when the pastor said turn to book of so-and-so and chapter so-and-so, the first place you went was the table of contents. And now you at least know that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is in the New Testament and not the Old. I've seen something in you. He just simply says, I thank God for you because you ain't the same. I'm going to take my seat. I thank God for you because you ain't the same. I thank God for you because I see how the power of His grace, the power of God is working in your life. You love a little bit different. You ain't easily as agitated as you used to be. Now it takes a little more to get you out of character. Thank the Lord. Skin got a little thicker. But he desired to see what they would become. He was waiting. He was hoping the Lord would allow him to see what he had in store for him. what they would become. You know, just like, you want to see your children grow up, and you want to see what they become in life, and the type of woman they will be, the type of mother, the type of man, the type of father they will be, and what they'll do as far as their career. You want to see those things, and you pray the Lord allow you to live to see it. Paul wanted to see when his children grew up, when the sheep grew up, what he was going to do with them. In verse 5, he said, I thank God for your fellowship. This was really the first part of his thankfulness and his joy, was his fellowship with them. In some translations, it says his partnership. His partnership. You know, this is why it is good for us not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together.
That's right. That's right.
In case you don't know it, you need each other. You need each other. I need you as much as you need me. You need each other. God created us to be beings that need companionship, that need fellowship. He created us that way. Did he not say it is not good for man to be alone? When you think about it, Paul, when he was saying, I'm grateful for your fellowship and your partnership, he was also speaking of their efforts in the furtherance of the gospel. Their efforts in continuing the teaching and the preaching and the evangelizing of the goodness of Jesus Christ and his saving grace. He said, I'm grateful for that, because see, the thing is, could you imagine if you had to run this race all by yourself? I'm saying, I know the Lord is with you, so I ain't saying you're alone, but by yourself. By yourself. Because it's one thing to have the Lord, but you do know that the Lord works through his people. See, it ain't no accident that when you are going through, when you have stumbled along the way, if you've fallen in a trap, or you fell for one of those pitfalls that Satan has laid in your way, it ain't no coincidence that God knows how to send the right person by your house. He sends the right person at the right time with the right words of comfort and the right words of encouragement to help lift your bowed down head. Paul said, I'm grateful that somebody's in the fire with us. I'm thankful, oh Lord, that I don't have to run this race by myself. But he got some folk running with me. It's good to know that somebody is in the fire with me. It's good to know. But God has given us the gift of fellowship to encourage one another. Amen. Send us a word right where we are. Paul said, I'm thankful for one more thing. I'm going to take my seat. But he said, I'm thankful for one more thing. I'm confident that the Lord is not through with you yet. My goodness. And Paul says, I am excited about your future. Isn't that something to be able to look at somebody and say, baby, I know you haven't arrived. I know you're worried about what's going on in your life, but I just need to tell you, you're better off than what you used to be. Yes. You need to be able to just thank God right now in the midst of your situation. It's one thing, you know, it's one thing when you think you've changed. But it's something else when others see the change in you. That's something different. Especially when it's folk who've been around you for a long time. Because see, they've become conditioned to who you are and the type of person that you are. So they will be the last ones to really see the change that is taking place in your life. So for those that are close to us, that can come to you and say, baby, you know what? I've noticed something different about you. Amen. Amen. Take joy in that. Take joy in that. He was excited. He said, I am excited about your future. Paul says, I don't say this because I'm confident in you. That ain't why I'm saying it. You ain't done everything right to this point. You ain't got everything right up to this point. Since the Lord saved you and since you've been baptized and since you profess Christ, you've still gotten it wrong countless and countless times. So I'm not saying that I'm grateful to God for your future and I'm celebrating you for your future and I'm confident about your future because my confidence is in you. But I'm confident in the one who has brought you a mighty long way. That's who I'm confident in. I'm confident in my Jesus. I'm confident in my God. For he who has begun a good work in you will perform it all the way to the end. Isn't that good news to somebody? That God does not leave you where you were. That he didn't come into your life. And that he didn't come and save you and change your heart and change your mind and then leave you in the same shape that you in. Oh, but thank God for his sanctifying spirit. That the Spirit of God comes right where you are and he takes you through the fire. He takes you through the flood. He shakes you. He molds you. He makes you. He picks you up when you're down. And he does all these things. He says, baby, I got something for you on the other side. And I got news for you. Your season ain't over yet. It ain't over just yet. It ain't over just yet. You still breathing, ain't you? If you're still breathing, it ain't over. It ain't over. Maybe the dynamics change. Maybe you ain't teaching in Sunday school anymore, but you still teaching somewhere. The Lord will send somebody to your house, and that's a teaching moment. The Lord is not through with you yet. He's not through with you yet. I know it's hard. Paul's saying, but I got confidence in my God. I got confidence in my God. I know that he is able. He is able to subdue your wants and desires and to fulfill his purpose in your life. You need to know that. He's still working on you. He's still working on you because he has a great work for you in the furtherance of the gospel. Paul said, I thank God for you because he will bring you to completion of the grace of God. He will bring you to completion. What does that mean? That means day by day, morning by morning, he's increasing you. With every heartache you go through, that's God increasing you. With every struggle you go through, that's God increasing you. You don't want God to leave. You don't want to keep praying, Lord, where's my breakthrough? You don't want to keep praying, Lord, when am I going to come out? You don't want to keep praying, Lord, when can I get a little bit more? When can I get this promotion? Are you going to help me get this diploma? When is it going to come in? When my ship's going to come in? Well, guess what, baby? You got to go through some stuff. He said, I'm answering your prayers. I'm doing what you asked asked me to do. You said you want the promotion. Well, guess what? You got to learn how to deal with this girl cussing you out every day. Because when I promote you, you don't have the liberty to cuss her back. You're not listening to me. Y'all not listening to me. You ain't listening to me. See, you want all those things, but you don't want to go through the prep room. He says, what you keep crying for? I'm doing what you're asking me to do. I'm making you ready. They talking about you, I'm making you ready. See, Paul was suffering. Paul was suffering. But he said in verse 12, I need you to understand, brothers, that the things that are happening to me have fallen out rather to the furtherance of the gospel. He said, I need y'all to understand, yeah, I'm in jail. Yeah, I'm suffering. Yeah, I can't move beyond this point and that point, and they watching my every move. But guess what, baby? My ministry is still going forward. I need you to understand that your suffering of this present time is not to be compared with the glory that shall be revealed in you. You need to know and understand that. I'm through. That's my message today. Come on, brother. Thank the Lord for somebody else. I thank God that you're in my life. I thank God for what He's doing in your life. In your suffering and in your pain, I thank God for it, baby. I'm praying for you. I'm praying with you. I pray God give you what you need. But Lord, I'm saying, God, keep them in there as long as you have to. Because when you come out, we're going to keep running this whole race. We got some things to do on this race. We got some people to get. We got some things to do. We got some people to save and draw to Christ. We got a great work. Yes, Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You want something to be thankful for this year? Be thankful that God has put some of His people in your life. Everywhere I go, I run into somebody that know the Lord. I'm just grateful for that. I mean, even when you're on your top, everybody else in there are heathen, and He brings somebody. You be sitting at a table at lunch on your break, and somebody, you just see somebody in the corner reading their Bible. He'll show you somebody and say, baby, I got people everywhere. I got people everywhere.
He will do it.
Be grateful. Be grateful that God has put His people in your life. I need people to encourage me. My flesh gets weak. I get discouraged. Every now and then I need somebody. And I know the word. I know what God promised me in His word. My faith is intact, but every now and then it's good for somebody to say, put your hand and your trust in the Lord's hand.
That's right. That's right.
He'll do it for you. He'll do it for you. I thank God for you. Because He's not through with you yet. So what if you didn't get that ministry right this past year? You wasn't the best leader. You wasn't the best choir member. You wasn't the best deacon. You wasn't the best music ministry member. You wasn't the best pew member or student or teacher or whatever it may be. You wasn't the best. You wasn't the best child of God that you could be this past year. But baby, God is not through with you yet. He's not done. He's not done. If you His child, if you His child, He got a way of getting you where he wants you.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
He'll get you there too. One way or another. We can go kicking and screaming, but you're going to get there. You're going to get there. Quit being so nasty to the folk that God has put in your life to help you.
Woo, say that. Say that.
I'm glad that God's people are around. Iron sharpens iron.
Yes. Yes.
I need you.